Okay. Good luck pressing that button.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the iWorkinsport live interview. This is the show where we talk to accomplished sport business professionals who come here to share their knowledge, experience, tips, and advice in order to help you succeed in your career. If we're just meeting, my name is João Frigerio. I'm the founder of iWorkinsport, and I want to thank you for being here with us today. If this is the first time that you're joining, let me know. You can write in the comments. I would like to know if this is your first time or if you're coming back, obviously. And an important thing for you to also write down in the comments is where you're watching from. Normally, we have a very international crowd, so it's always good to know, which is very fitting because today is actually a special episode. So we're coming back after a long hiatus, and we're at a very special place. I'm not doing this from my office, from my house, as you can see, but we are at the International Olympic Committee here in Lausanne. We're invited by this very special guest to be here today. She's right next to me. I'll introduce her
Laughing
in a second. If you don't know iWorkinsport, we're a platform to help you accelerate your career in sport. So if you want to work in sport, or if you already work in sport, we're to help you anyway. So we organize events which connect you to recruiters if you're looking for a job, or with sports management academic programs if you're interested in investing in education, which is always a very effective way to enter the industry. Now, obviously, if you already know us, you can already hit that like button. It's great if you're watching on YouTube. If not, you can wait, see if you like. If you do, don't forget to hit that like and also subscribe to the channel. Now, let me introduce you to my very special guest of today. We're going to talk with Ana-Marija Garcevic. You can see her hand right here. She's a very good friend of mine, a long time, but that's not why she's here, or I'm here with her. She has an inspiring career in sports. That's what we're going to learn more about, with a lot of knowledge to share. And she is working on a very cool project too, that I wanted you to know about, right? So Ana works at the IOC as head of activities of Olympic Games engagement, and she leads the IOC Young Leaders program. So there's definitely a lot to talk about. We're going to do that in 1 second. If I can find that intro, we'll be right after this. Ana, there you are.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you for coming and having me in the live interview.
It's great. Now people
Hello,
have they can see the whole picture. Well, it's empty offices at the moment. You know, they already finished work, but it's a pleasure to be here at the IOC with you.
Welcome.
Ana, so I told you, you know what the show is about. It's mostly about career. There's obviously the Young Leaders program that we're going to talk about. But can we start with you telling our audience there, or you can talk to me, a bit about your career in sports. So how did you start? Maybe what you studied even before you started. I know you're an athlete as well. So yeah.
Used to be.
Oh, yes. Well,
but, you know.
Let us know.
Yes, of course. And once again, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here and also to welcome you here as well. So we kind of combine the best of the both worlds. And it's really great to talk to everybody online. Hello. Sure, I can start. Well, basically how I started was really unique and not so unique. I mean, it's sport that defined my path in career. I started as a rower. I was a rower in the 90s in Croatia. For about 10 years. And then it was time to kind of decide, okay, is this really the path I'm going to take in the future, or I have to go and start working, since I was not really elite material for the Olympic Games. We tried. We finished fourth in the World Championships under 23. That was my best result in the double sculls. Colleagues are passing and saying hello, and it was definitely existential crisis to decide, okay, can I still stay in sport or do I have to start working? And how it happened, the fortune took me to start working in rowing events in Croatia. Through that, I got an offer to work in the Croatian Rowing Federation for a couple of years, then a couple of years in the Croatian Canoe Federation. And since we organized quite a lot of events at the time, beginning of 2000s in Croatia, this is how I was introduced to a lot of people in the international sport environment, mainly canoeing. And that's how I got the offer to work for International Canoe Federation, which was at the time based in Madrid, Spain. So I moved there already.
When was that?
That was 2005.
Okay.
And then it was already under condition, okay, you get the job, but you will have to move to Lausanne after 9 months. And I kind of said yes to everything because
not a bad place to be.
Not a bad place to be. I actually didn't know anything about Switzerland, honestly, but at the time there was this project to get all the federations in Lausanne as much as possible. It was the Maison de Sport International, and they tried to get all the federations, and Canoe Federation was one of the first that moved in, me included. City of Lausanne helped us a lot with the moving and papers, administration, getting the permits. And that's how I ended up in Lausanne in 2006.
That was about the time more or less when we met.
Probably
at the greatest.
Luckily. Luckily, yes. That's how we started like the expat community, few of us, here. That was very lucky. But 2006, stayed in Federation until 2008. These were my also first games, delivered sport operations with International Canoe Federation in Beijing 2008. And after that, straight after, got the job at the IOC, and I'm here since.
Very, very good. And what is it that's you've been doing at the IOC then since then?
Well, I kind of had also maybe lucky, maybe being right, in being in the right place at the right time, but I changed my roles in the last 14 years, probably 5 or 6 times. I don't even know exactly the number. I mean, my first and the biggest part of 10 years was really knowledge management. Today, this is called IKL, Information Knowledge Learning. So it changed a bit how it works, but that was majority of my time in the IOC. And I managed a number of programs within that, mainly focusing on observation and experience programs, which enable people who work for the organizing committees of the Olympic Games to prepare for their delivery roles for the games. So we had a bunch of educational coaching learning programs, and significant is the observer program, where we kind of bring the future organizing committees into the host city, and then the other one to learn from the city that is hosting the current games. And this part is actually integrated into their host city contract, where they are obliged to, it's kind of a spirit of the Olympic Games as well, and the Olympism, to share your knowledge with the next one so that people don't invent the wheel. So these were the kind of programs that I've done. And then 10 years forward, a lot of observer programs, a lot of debriefs, a lot of workshops, knowledge shared with the future games, and including, Rio 2016, Sochi, Beijing 2022, Tokyo 2020, all the games basically since 2006. That was the job. And then I kind of wanted a change, and I was lucky also to do secondment in Lausanne 2020 in the ceremonies, which was also a really fun experience, and it gave me a whole other view of how games can be organized. It's not the IOC side, it's the side of the organizing committee. Similar but different. Powerful experience. And then when I got back, I started to work more in the engagement area.
Right.
Yeah.
there's a few messages here.
Okay.
I'm reading to you already some comments, but before I go to those, so of these things, or let's say the thing that you're doing now at the moment, what is it that you like the most then about your job?
I just love the diversity of, well, people, cultures, of course. I think that's one of the biggest gifts we get working in the sports environment. But also it's diversity of job and the meaning behind the job that we do. So my director, he usually always say we're in the business of changing lives, and that's really the fact. So I love that part. Even when you do expenses. I'm kidding, that's not the time I feel that, no.
Yeah. Anyway, let me let you know. I'll let you know who's sending some comments here. There you can watch in the screen. We have Elizabeth Cardozo saying that she's already subscribed. Well done, Elizabeth. I think you're in Portugal. Right. Elena is telling people that are watching on LinkedIn.
Oh, hi, Elena. Elena was one of the volunteers I worked with.
Hi, Elena. That is the thing working better on YouTube. Okay. Thanks for letting us know. And she's there. We have Jesus Lorenzo in Rennes, France. We have Andrew Koch saying hi from Thailand.
Hello.
Right. Thanks, Andrew, for being there. Abdijalil, sorry if I killed your name. He's saying that fourth is a pretty good results.
Okay.
Yeah.
A bit disappointing, but still good. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the worst.
The wooden medal, we say in Croatia.
Yeah. Emily, hello, Emily. Let us know later where you're talking from. I have my aunt here, Malu, saying hi from Brazil. Sanket is saying hi from India. Yuri in Germany. Hello, everyone. There's
that's amazing. International crowd.
Elizabeth, of course, you're in Bath, of course. And Fawaz Kediri is also watching us. There are more comments coming. Also, prepare your questions. Right, we have Kiki in the USA, in Florida. There was Marco in Brazil, but I think I pressed the wrong button. There he is.
Hey, Marco.
David and Lausanne. Well, there's a lot of you here. Fawaz is watching us in Tunisia. So thanks. I hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
And so I always ask, well, not always, but I usually ask this question, but it's always like the same answer, sort of. I ask you to tell people at home, then you describe more or less what your job is here at the IOC. I mean, the roles.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come here, what is it actually that you do? What is a normal job
day to day?
Yeah, day to day. Is it a lot of traveling for you? Is it working with different teams?
I think, I was thinking about the question because it's definitely interesting. I mean, I could always start with what I did today, and interestingly enough, it's like hybrid working with now, obviously, with virtual collaboration. Things are easier, more flexible, but also sometimes a little bit more impersonal. So we have to really be careful also how do we balance that out. But typically, in the role that I have as a Young Leaders program lead, it's a lot of promoting the program, not just outside, but also internally. I mean, we have an organization that does a lot of things, and the key core business is the delivery of the Olympic Games, that because of which is everything what we do is possible, including the Young Leaders program. So not everybody is aware of the program and what we do, but they might be aware in, less or more levels. But so one job that I have is really to put together people around the table that can help with different aspects of the program. We work with our marketing department because one of our top partners is working with the program as well. It's Panasonic, so we work with marketing team to make sure that we also optimize the partnership. We work with digital engagement department, who is helping with the promotion and really just engagement, enabling presence on digital media. We work with the president's office, who is a huge fan and a sponsor of the program itself. And so we want to obviously optimize that relationship, make sure that he's also aware of the progress, but also, let's say, put him in contact with the young leaders when that's appropriate. For example, we had the youth summit last week, so there was a lot of coordination around that. So my job is pretty much desk job. Like most of us here, we are lucky we can work from anywhere. That occasionally involves some travel, but it's mostly, between remote work and the Olympic House, and making sure that we create those cross-functional connections where people can help the program and actually the young leaders themselves. That's the whole key, to help them to achieve what they need to achieve. And I can go into that, but just a day to day, I worked in the morning, had a few calls. We talked to Panasonic in Tokyo. Then I had a chat with my colleague about some finances, because we are right now in the budget confirmations for 2023 and 2024. So this is our big milestone now, to decide what are going to be the activities in the next couple of years. And then I went to the rowing club, which was really the highlight of my day, except for now.
Thank you.
Except for now. Now it's already like super nice days ending, but we have a club right there.
Did you already go to the rowing club today?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't row, but I was on the line, the rowings. There's a friend who actually organizes Row Fit. It's a little plug there, but so I was there for like an hour, and then I came here, had a beautiful lunch, which is also one of the perks we get, and then had a few. What else did I? Today had another meeting talking about the future of the promotion of the program in 2023, how we're going to approach the different assets that we have. Not to be too specific, but So there's a lot about predicting the future, making sure that the program stays relevant, that it's not just relevant to us, but it's relevant to the people we're trying to reach.
Cool. Listen, before I go to the next question, there's Anika here watching in Manchester saying hi.
Manchester? Can I mention Manchester specifically a little bit?
Manchester?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a student in Manchester.
Okay.
As of this year, I decided to enroll into the master's program in Manchester Metropolitan University, because I really wanted to, give myself another challenge a little bit which has nothing to do with sports. It's actually human resources. Global human resources at MMU. So hello, Manchester. I love it. That's my, alma mater now.
and we also have Ulrich Sports in Nigeria, and we have Gabo Rivera saying that he applied for the Young Leader.
Okay.
Looking forward for meetings in November.
Yes.
Is working hard for it. So whenever I talk to my guest, and I imagine that some of the people watching and hearing about your career, how it developed, they also may think, okay, I kind of would like to do something at least similar to that. And then I always sort of ask, what do you think are the skills that you have that allowed you to, progress in your career as you did so far?
Yeah. By the way, the question that I answered before, was it the same as always? You said that you always get the same answer.
No, it always starts
with the
same question, which is, so what is a usual day like for you?
Okay.
A normal day? And then the first answer is, there's no such thing. Every day is different.
Okay.
But you were different.
So I did a difference.
You didn't tell me that's one sentence.
Okay.
Everybody tells me.
Yeah. Okay. So
in terms of skills.
Yeah. It's obviously what I love about the sports industry, and I'm not trying to be vague, but the sports industry requires a lot of different profiles. In the IOC, we have so many different departments. They all contribute to the mission of the IOC, but you have the team that works on marketing, you have the team that works on the games delivery. So this all requires different profiles, different skills. What uniquely, and I thought about it, what everybody kind of needs to have to be, I guess, successful, and that probably goes for any area, is communication, being a very good, clear communicator. I think for me, that was also a challenge at the beginning of the career. I can admit that because I worked on it a lot. Culturally, we are all very different. You come from a different country and you have your own cultural communication. And for me personally, it's linked with the challenges that I had mostly in my career, is basically as a Croatian coming into international environment, language is quite different in the way how we speak. So I had to adapt a lot in that sense and learn and coach myself. So that was a lot of self-learning. But so I think communication is really necessary because you have to work with a lot of people, different departments, different areas to be successful. Nothing can be done in a silo, especially something like the games or a sport event. On any sport event, you have to be able to work with people. And for me, it's almost like it doesn't matter, do you like them or do you not like them? It's the fact, okay, we're all here for the same reason and trying to find that same objective and same value. So we can be very different. We might not want to get a beer, but mostly we do. But then be able to work together constructively. And I think that ability is probably one of the most valued here that I had to specifically also learn, because it's so much easier to work with people also that you get along with or you speak the same language. But, in the international environments, being open to different cultures, being understanding, being able to learn and, give criticism in a positive way, but also accept the criticism in a very open way. And also just being in the constant wave of learning and absorbing. And I also mean that, sport is not disconnected from the world. It's actually very connected. We saw this in the last 3 years. So being attuned to also what's going on in the world and the news, even and how does it really, what is happening in Brazil, what is happening in Japan and all these countries that have the games. Right. This is all very much linked to your job in the end and what you will be able to do or not.
Right.
So this is something that I recommend everybody, that sport is not happening in isolation. It's a great tool to put people back together. But, being able to predict the trends and know what's going to happen next year, or at least kind of have a certain vision, this is also interesting in the being in the management position, I would say.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it makes a lot of sense. Listen, I'm going to
I wonder if people agree or disagree, but...
So, people, she wants to know if you agree or disagree. You can comment here. Actually, I'm going to ask you a question because this is a hard one.
Oh.
And then I'll go to some comments quickly so you can think about it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Biggest challenge that you faced in your career and and how you overcame it. I don't know if you're ready. No, right away, or you want me to think about it and I check the comments?
Well, I can start, right?
Go.
I can start because I obviously thought about it a little bit. This is definitely the hardest question because you have to be kind of now vulnerable. So I mentioned already partially when I just started to work in international environment, which was me moving to Madrid and suddenly, being absorbed into a whole other different culture. And, maybe you need to understand about me. I come from quite difficult background. I don't have parents. I lost my mom when I was 15. We had war in Croatia in the beginning, in the first part of the 90s. So economy in Croatia in the 90s, not great. So it was really the sport that pulled me to be better and to succeed. So I didn't actually travel before that. I didn't know. I traveled a little bit through rowing, but it was always with the Croatian team. So I wasn't really exposed as much maybe today young people are to new culture. So for me, it was a kind of a cultural shock moving to Spain and then to Switzerland, right. And just learning how to function in that environment in a way that people don't always consider me, oh, she's that very direct, very, pushy Croatian that I would get labeled as. So that was really hard because I had to really work on that. And I still can, come across as such or that. But maybe at now in this age, I can actually accept certain parts about me and be sort of more open with people and then admit in the beginning or apologize when I'm wrong or something. The other thing was also actually more concrete was when I was speaking about switching from knowledge management to engagement. So that was kind of a challenge and an opportunity, clearly, because I knew I was kind of, okay, 10 years working in an area, you just feel you can do it with the closed eyes and not be maybe challenged by it. And for me, it was like, okay, what's next for me? And then to unravel that with my leadership, which I have to give credit to because they were open to conversation, they were open to different opportunities, and basically being also very honest with what I want, what they want. And then that was kind of a moment where I didn't know, okay, am I going to stay here, maybe do something else, or stay but do something different here. And now I was very lucky also that it worked out in a way that even if I was maybe saturated with one area, I actually got an opportunity to work in a different one. But what got me maybe through it mostly is just being very transparent with everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing this. Actually, there's a lot of comments coming in, Ana. So, Elena Eningues de
Yes.
Heredia
Hi.
says, I totally agree. Communication and openness is key. Just clicking here. There's some questions. Actually, let me go up because many things arrived. Elizabeth Cardozo is asking about the young leader applicants, what you're looking on a young leader applicants. Elizabeth, just hang in there.
We'll get there.
We're going to get to the young leaders. There's a special section in this interview to talk about that, right? So we're going to ask what they look for in an applicant. David Genou also.
Hi, David.
What are the young leaders profile in your program? We're going to talk to that. Evelyn is in Tampa, Florida. Mariana Barros is watching in Brazil. So
Rio 2016. Yes.
Cool. You're very popular. I knew that.
That's my Brazilian family.
I knew that. So there's a question here from Abdel Jalil. I hope I got it right. My question is, I have a sports science bachelor and sport management master, and yet it is very difficult for me to be interviewed while others who don't have the same academic background get a chance. So you mentioned that you're continuing your education. Abdel Jalil is asking about education. I wanted to know as well, because we do have many master's programs that are partners of iWorkinsport. So you obviously are familiar with many masters in sports.
Yeah.
So maybe you can answer his question and also talk about the importance of formal education, to someone that wants to work in sport.
Right. Well, I think education is the key for sure for everything in life. I think it just enriches people. I would not say that formal education, this is the beauty of being in the house, people walking around and waving. Melanie was there. Anyway, so I would say it wasn't crucial for me. So I studied psychology and I studied kinesiology, but because of the experience I had in events, I believe I was probably selected at the end. The same is, I would, with most of the candidates, clearly there is like a basic filtering that is done, but I think people also need to understand that IOC receives a lot of applications for one job. So we're talking about sometimes hundreds of applications, and the fit for a specific job can be really due to something very specific that fits that particular job description. What I know is that our human resources team is definitely investing a lot into going through the pools of candidates that are available. but they're also bind, or how would I say, they are limited also with the Swiss law and Swiss regulations in some ways. Although we are an international company based in Switzerland. So to just go back to the formal education, it's important, but it's not a deal breaker if you don't have it. It's definitely a plus if you do have it. So that would be the short answer.
Yeah, that's great. I agree. And Abdul Jalil is asking, I mean, if he's missing something, it's really hard to know. I mean, each case is one case. Maybe it depends on, I think, what you're applying for. Definitely a big part of working in sport is not only studying, but also networking as well. Go into places, go to conferences, get to know people so they understand better what is it that you can offer. By the way, talking more about your roles here in the IOC, do you usually get involved in recruitment?
Yes, when there is when we are recruiting as a team, or if I'm recruiting somebody as a direct report. But even if it's somebody senior to me, if it's part of the team, but that would be in different ways and different stages, clearly. So it all depends. But yes, I would say the answer would be yes, although we didn't have new hires for a while in my team. So what's the question exactly?
Oh, well, first,
Yeah.
if you actually participate, because then I do have a follow-up question.
Okay.
Normally, what are the skills, the main skills that you look for whenever you have to recruit someone? And in that conversation, so before this, you also mentioned that sometimes you participate in recruitment for third parties that work with you.
Yeah, exactly. So in the program, Young Leaders program, we work with a delivery partner called Unisports Hub, and we outsource some parts of the operations of the program to them. It's just a model that also works at the IOC. We actually sometimes are also, there's a decision in there, when do you outsource, when do you keep it inside. In this case, the model works very well. And then when the team is selected also in the delivery partner by them, we also take part, because obviously people need to be able to work together, and we help them also draft job descriptions and what we are looking for in a candidate. Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of when we look here, when our HR is responsible for that, then yes, the role of usually the managers is to draft job descriptions. So you're clearly doing that as specific as you can be, although I heard comments that sometimes it's not as specific as people would maybe want to know about the specific job position. But sometimes the jobs are just like that. They can be, coordination jobs. So you coordinate a lot of things, and you have to deal with a lot of things at the same time. So the skill would be, being able to do that and being comfortable in high pressure situations, and a bit flexible with your, with the way you work, with the way you approach the job, the people.
Right.
So I think what I'm looking for usually is mainly, besides the ability to work hard and be good at the job, it's really the communication, also the attitude. I think it's a lot easier when people are really open to the work that they do, that they approach it not in a way that's, we know everything, I did this before. There is a very specific environment that we are dealing with, and it sometimes requires adaptation. Yeah. Like I had the same situation, so I can speak from my own experience that I had to adapt to a specific situation of the IOC, and also understanding the role of the IOC, which can sometimes be misunderstood too.
Right.
We are not the ones organizing the games, for example.
Yeah, cool. One thing that I found quite interesting there is that you mentioned that you do work, for instance, in your project with the Yunus Foundation, and that you even participate in the selection process somehow. So they do work in this IOC project, and it's curious because whenever I talk to many people that want to start working in the industry, So, what is it that you want to do? So I want to work for the IOC or FIFA or FIBA or UEFA, and that's it. And they need to understand that there's so many more opportunities. For instance, a foundation like that, it's already a cool work in itself, but you will be doing direct work with the IOC as well. And then once you're doing, working a third party, you can definitely go from one place to the other. Once you work alongside a team, then it's much easier as well to move on in their career. So definitely something for people to pay attention whenever they're thinking of their career, not to dismiss other
paths.
Other paths, of course.
There are many paths to be involved with sports.
We're going to talk about the young programs in 1 second. Just one more question, I think, about career to you. I imagine that's like me, you get people that are starting some of their careers or are even interested in starting and ask you for advice. So Ana, I really want to work in sports. Do you give any? What would be the advice that you would give to someone?
I think we touched upon a few things maybe before. I think self-starter is also really interesting mindset to be in, because I really appreciate it when sometimes people also come forward, even if it's not, the need is not there yet, or they just express interest, or they just say, okay, I'm kind of looking for this or that. And I think LinkedIn is really good environment for that, because people open themselves up to opportunities regardless of what they already have. So just being proactive sometimes, I think it's also good. The other thing, really experience, right? So even if maybe this will sound like very arrogant, and I don't want to come across, but I feel like sport is really one that you can maybe easier than in other areas get experience. And it doesn't have to be in a senior position or manager position. Sometimes knowing what event means and what are the complexities of events can come from just being a volunteer. And I personally always, I volunteered also, even when I started my career and I already became a manager. I continued volunteering in sports that I liked, and that was handball, for example, for Croatia. So you sort of learn about the essence of what we do and what are the needs of an athlete and how does that work, what are the complexity of the organizer, how does this look like in the behind the scenes, but also how people sometimes don't notice that you're having issues. So getting that experience, I think it can also be sometimes quite critical for some of the positions. But then you also have a number of positions, we have accounting too. If you work in accounting, there is no need for that. So I can't really speak to that skill, but you clearly need to be a good accountant, I guess, for that. Or know if you're legal, then knowing the sports law or the law or something like that. And I can only speak from what I've done. And I think for me, experience as an athlete helped me as well understand, because at the Olympic movement, athlete is the heart of everything. So being able to relate to those experiences and not forgetting how it was to be young, especially in the Young Leaders program.
Yeah.
That's another skill I'm learning, right? I have to put myself in the mindset of people who are 20 years younger than me now.
Good. Listen, I think people want to know Maria, about the program.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. There's just one comment I want to address here. There's from Jesus. He was asking what you work on before being at the IOC, before being in the sports industry. Jesus, she touched on it already. Mm-hmm. So if you can maybe just go back and watch later.
Rewind.
Rewind. It will save us a bit of time once it's finished. Just go back there. So in general, let's talk about the Young Leaders program. What is it?
Oh, it's the most beautiful program in the world. Okay, this is very biased. No. So it is a beautiful program, definitely. That's objective. It's a program that empowers and enables young people to make a difference in their own communities by creating a program or a project or a social business that answers to one of the issues in that community. It's kind of a simple elevator speech I can make here. Now, what practically this means for us, we select 25 people every 2 years. So we have 2 generations of young leaders overlapping, but one generation is 25 young people. We have just published probably a month ago criteria for the new generation, and the application process is right now in progress.
It
and
is tomorrow.
Closing tomorrow.
Closing tomorrow.
You still have like a day and a half to complete a very simple application form, but it's done in 2 stages. And I don't want to maybe talk about the process yet, but the program itself, it provides a 4-year curriculum to the people who are selected, and that includes education and coaching on different subjects, the subjects that are relevant to establishing a social business or social project, leadership development. So we clearly aim for these young people to either evolve or develop their leadership skills,
right,
so they can be called leaders,
right,
either right away or a bit later. So we invest in that, and they also receive $10,000 US dollars as a seed funding for the project that they will develop. And with all that, we have a team that follows them personally or in a group, or we communicate with them directly as well. They know this very well. There's a bunch of things that happen in the program. It's also including a lot of engagement opportunities for them. It's also coming every 2 years together in Lausanne, for example, during a summit, or we send them to different events to speak and contribute to various agendas.
right.
And we try to pre-select that for them. Sometimes they're proactive, sometimes we do this for them. So there was a One Young World Summit in Manchester. There will be a United Through Sports Summit in Bangkok in a few weeks. So we're going to have 2 people there. There's a lot of opportunities also to virtual contributions. So there's like engagement on many different levels. And then one thing is that, we have such a great support from the leadership of the IOC, namely the president of the IOC, who also appoints a number of young leaders into the IOC commissions. So they sit at the table where the decisions are made.
Right. So,
and they contribute to those decisions.
Cool. Thank you for that. Another 2 questions for me. So who's eligible to participate in the program? And is there a fee for them to participate? No. Okay.
No fee. Okay, so we have 2 stages. The first stage is the one happening now. So people are registering for the learning sprint that we're doing in November. It's a 4-week learning sprint with 1 session per week and a couple of tasks that they need to complete. So anybody can do that. It's public. It's also a way of engaging with wider audience about Olympism and Olympic values and the Olympic Games. So 4 sessions will cover different topics related to the program, to the Olympism, through the social business, and also what is expected from people. Then after that first phase, we are entering the second stage where people they apply specifically for the program. But if they didn't do the learning sprint, they're not eligible to register for the program itself.
Right.
So it's a kind of a way of engaging people, but also filtering people and making them understand what this is, because people might be too busy to do it, you know?
The 25 are in the second stage.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So you accept more
Yes.
people for the first phase.
Exactly, much more.
Right. But I mean, is it all in English?
It's all in English, yeah. That's the prerequisite.
This is all in English. Is there an age prerequisite? Do I need to be an athlete to do it?
No, not at all. I mean, for the program itself, there will be age limitations. So the first part, we don't even look at the age, because we want people to have access to the content we provide, and we think it can be relevant to more people. But then in the second stage, yes, there will be a limitation. It's from 20 to 28 years old, which was also
what's the
20 to 28.
20 to 28.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not eligible anymore.
Sorry, Joel.
You're
just the old leader.
Maybe 20 years or so. Right. thank you. We did have a few questions here, so I'll find some more specific questions about the program. Before that, just a note here from Elizabeth Cardozo. It was posted a few minutes ago. Thank you for sharing how you use sport to overcome the difficulties of your childhood, early life, and that is so important for young people to know from high achievers like you. I agree with you, Elizabeth. Thank you for the message. Rahita is watching us from Sri Lanka. What else? So Jesus is asking Ana-Marija, how many languages do you speak? And what is the language you use on a daily basis and outside of your work?
3.5. Croatian, English, and French. I just became Swiss also a few weeks ago. And a little bit in Spanish, because I lived in Madrid for 9 months. So I picked up some Spanish, so you cannot speak in front of me Spanish if you want to talk about me behind my back.
And therefore some Portuguese as well.
I can understand a bit of Italian as well. So that seems it's kind of connected with French and Spanish, yeah.
But let me say a special hello here to Regina Justo. She's my mother-in-law, actually, mother of Erica, who's here with us. And recently, she lost my father-in-law, Otacílio, who was also a fan of the show, was always in translation for Regina, whatever we presented. So Regina, be strong. Thank you for being here with us. We love you. We have Gabo Rivera here saying already work in sports, but I'm worried that I would put me in a specific discipline. I work in motorsports here in Colombia with FIA. Isn't it going to put me only in that area? Can I be in other areas? So Gabo is basically asking about career transition. Can you maybe answer that while I look for more questions about the young leaders?
About transition from other sports?
Transitioning from a career in sports. So he has already experience in motorsports.
Yeah, it's transfer.
He might want to work in something else.
I actually know quite a few colleagues who did work in motorsports anyway, and they did both ways. We had people who went from here to motorsports and motorsports to here. I think the event is an event and it translates everywhere, regardless which sport it is. I mean, clearly there are some specificities to each sport. Rowing is on a lake, so there's a whole other, on the water. Motorsports requires something else, but we probably have a lot of operational challenges in common. So I don't think that's actually really good that you have that experience. So I would not say that's a challenge. That's actually an advantage.
Right.
Go for it.
No, I'm going back. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit lost here. People are really participating.
Okay.
Thank you. Keep them coming.
Thanks,
sorry,
guys.
I'm a bit lost.
That's nice.
I just went back and I found a question by Elizabeth again here, asking, what you're looking for in a young career applicants.
Okay.
I think we covered it, but you talk about age and
we publish the criteria on the website, so I just really encourage you to go on our IOC Young Leaders program website. It's so easy to find. There is a very clear list. One of the things we are now looking for is also social media skills. We can't really ignore that at this time and age. There is a lot to do in terms of communication and promotion of your own projects if you get selected. So we have put that on the list. We put communication clearly and cross-cultural awareness, being able to work with different people. We ask also, it's a remote program, leadership, distance leadership. We just can't put every now and then. It would be way too expensive and wasteful to put everybody in the same place. So people are in different countries, 25 different countries, and the program is ran remotely. So for that reason, we need people who are also happy to accept that too. So virtual collaboration skill is probably becoming one of those skills, not just in sports environment, but just in general, being able to collaborate with people without being able to touch them.
Right. And as you pointed out, there is also a lot of information on your website.
A lot, yeah. It's very listed. We try to be specific as much as possible. The biggest thing is the age for the second stage. Other than that, you don't need anything for the learning sprint. I think learning sprint will answer a lot of questions as well. Is this program for you? Because it's not for everybody. It doesn't have to be for everybody, but that's why we do it in 2 stages.
Right. Another one, maybe the last one about the Young Leaders program. Fawaz Kediri asks, is the 28 years of age limit firm, or can you accept 29 if the profile is interesting?
Yeah, we get that question a lot because we did decrease the limit from 30 to 28. We did it for a number of reasons, and it was not an easy and light decision. But yes, we are looking for 25, and there is no space for negotiation here.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You probably get
I'm
too
very
many
sorry.
applications.
We do get a lot, yeah.
Fawaz,
And we're in the thousands. We are not, and that's already.
Very soon you'll be like me and applying for a senior leader course
Yes.
program here with the IOC. Comment here from Mario Medeiros.
Mario.
Dear friends, fantastic interview. Thank you, Mario, for being part of this. Love to hear the youth engagement and continued growth. Quick question. Are there dedicated plans to engage children and children's education in sport within the IOC?
Well, great question, Mario, and I love that this question comes up. I want to say that program itself, so the 25 that we're going to select, they usually do work with children. I mean, not everybody, but they are mostly focused on children. So in a way, through the program, we have indirect impact on kids in those communities. So we actually have a young leader from Brazil who is phenomenal. Her name is Layana. If you want to look her up, she's amazing. So she works in Rocinha, which is the biggest favela in the world. And she's organizing basketball coaching. So Mario, I know he has special love for basketball, but basketball is a tool for equipping those children to be more socially and economically aware of their own futures. So it's not, the intention is not to create elite athletes out of them or even athletes at all. It's just a place to enable them to come together and do sport instead of something else that is maybe not as positive, for example. So we do actually care about that a lot. It is in the mission of the IOC. It's in the Olympic Agenda 2020 +5. So kids are obviously a big factor. Youth Olympic Games. It's children of young adults from 15 to 18. I think that's the kind of the limit. But yeah, I think I cannot really speak on behalf of everybody, but there is a lot of investment into social responsibility on the IOC side, for sure.
Cool. There you go, Mario. Good answer for you.
Get in touch with Layana.
Get in touch with Layana. Well, there's many more questions and comments popping up here, so I'm going to read some to you. Ana Kiki Kaplanidou. Do you know?
Nope.
No. Hello, Kiki. Thank you for being here. Great interview, Ana. You seem very personable and genuine. You are right. I can attest.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fawaz says, yes, we'll soon join the age club. Cool. Sorry for that. Connie Constant, thank you for seeing this together. Very informative. Naomi is watching from New York. Naomi Castillo. Who else? Brenda Kunda is in Zambia.
Wow. Everywhere.
Yeah, sorry. That's and Alessio. I imagine Alessio Princigali, I suppose Italian or Ticinese. Interesting thoughts about recruiting. There's a question here from David Genoux. Are there already some challenges to face for Paris 2024? How does it impact your work?
Well, since I don't work, well, I work in one part of my job is linked with the Paris 2024 education program, but I personally don't have challenges with them because Paris 2024 is investing a lot in empowerment of the youth in France. So actually, they have a challenge of wanting to do too much, potentially. They really want to do a lot. I cannot speak to the other areas.
Cool. Oripa Mubilka is watching in Zimbabwe. So Kiki actually asked a question here. How do you work with the OCOGs? So the organizing committees. Yeah, OCOGs, of course. the organizing committees of the Olympic Games, pre, during, both.
I mean, I sit in a department called Olympic Games Department, and our department is really kind of responsible for this whole coordination of the games delivery with the organizing committees. There is a process put in place from the very beginning. Actually, part of the team works with organizing committees before they become organizing committees, before they are even selected. So there is relationships with the bid cities, and then they become OCOGs, and then the team that works with the delivery takes over. 7 years before, usually for the Olympic Games, 4 years before Youth Olympic Games, and the work is really nothing unusual, nothing you would not see in any other office. It's mainly now virtual collaboration based on weekly calls, discussions, emails, workshops, from time to time getting together also, because that's important for relationship building and also discussing the challenges. So I don't know if I answered the question really, but working with OCOGs is one of the greatest pleasures, honestly, because it's a gift to have a city who wants to organize the games. Great. And we're very, very grateful to them.
Great. Listen, we're almost hitting the hour. Do you have another 5 minutes?
Sure. No, okay. It's a pleasure.
Just so I don't know if we'll be able to cover all comments and questions. Just one addition here from Elena. Going back to a subject that we're talking about, she also says that volunteering.
Yes.
I also suggest volunteering to get practical experience, and she completes and networking. The best way to get noticed is when people see you working and can see your potential.
I think she's really one of those examples, because I know Elena from volunteering actually, and I think she got the job recently with the Federation. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't spoken to her.
Very cool. She actually also asks, how do you see the Youth Olympic Games have made a positive impact?
I love it. Yes. So it's I have to say, from all I had a lot of games experience, but Lausanne 2020 was probably my favorite. No offense to other games, clearly, but it's so genuine. It's kind of there's less pressure in some ways, and the emotion is there completely.
Yeah, and congratulations to her. She did get the job.
Okay.
Yeah, well done. Congrats. And Brenda Kunda says, wonderful interview, Anna. I agree. Anna, so I'm going to go to a few other questions that I have for you. One, we did have a conversation yesterday, was super interesting. So basically, sport is traditionally a male prevalent industry. So you still find many more men than women working there, I would say. Is that changing? And what are the main challenges for women who want to work in this industry?
Okay, so is it changing? Yes, it's changing. I mean, absolutely, it's changing. It's I started in the sport industry 20 years ago in Croatia. It was not even a topic, gender equality, at the time, and I would say the biggest change that happened is that now it's really on the agenda. It's considered as one of the key drivers of almost everything we do. I mean, you can see a lot of actions coming from the IOC itself, and I'm actually very lucky to be in an organization that doesn't just talk about the issue, but actually actions it. And we have several examples. I mean, I can give, first, the participation, obviously, in the games is really important. And I think we are very close to have 50-50 now. I think Tokyo was maybe 50-50 already. I apologize. I should know this probably. 50-50 Youth Olympic Games already achieved 50-50 in terms of participation. There's a very active effort going into that in terms of reviewing the Olympic program and the schedules of the competitions. Then we just had a press release a few days ago with the president appointing, first time in history, gender balanced commissions. So that's a big deal. This is the decision-making bodies. We have just recently also, I have to say, I mean, it's not the director of marketing just retired, and Anne-Sophie Boumart has been appointed the first woman in the marketing director position. So this is incredible also. I also noticed, for example, in the IOC, and I have to speak for the IOC just because I've been here for 14 years. So, when I started, the ratio of senior management and between men and women was lower, much lower than it is today. We are probably approaching maybe over 40% of women in senior management positions. And I'm very proud of that, because I think there's been a significant effort by the leadership, by the HR to do this. So yeah, it's good. But then also IOC is also quite specific. We know that, for example, when you compare the sport coverage of how normal events get covered and how much coverage female sports get in normal, usual, not Olympic events, it's probably 4%. But for Olympic Games, it's 40%.
Right.
So this is a very active effort in that area too. How do we coach and train the journalists? The biggest challenge in sport industry for women is being women. That's basically, it kind of reflects in a lot of different ways until the question is solved, about maternity leaves and paternity leaves, about how do we treat women. And I'm really speaking of general way. Sport industry is quite specific. We still have a lot of male leadership in other stakeholders, and but that is also quite that is changing. I've noticed also more women in those positions.
Right.
So it's happening. It's probably not as fast as I would like to be,
Right.
but it's definitely happening.
Well,
but I would say don't consider that as a challenge. Use it to your advantage. Being a woman is also great.
100%.
Yeah. We have ways that men don't sometimes.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And listen, so we're going to wrap up. I have a couple more questions before I will read a few more comments that are super nice. So David Genot says, bravo, Ana. Really great interview, real pleasure. Thank you both. Jesus says, as always, a great iWorkinsport Live interview. Thank you, João, for giving us this space, and many thanks to Ana-Marija for your time and for sharing your life and work experiences. There's an extra comment from him that is actually about that. I love your water bottle, and I absolutely love your friendly way of being. So do I, Jesus. Sang-Eun Lee.
Sang-Eun Lee, that's one of our young leaders.
All right.
Yeah,
so
hi.
Thank you for this amazing interview, Working Sports, and proud to be one of the young leaders.
Sang-Eun is actually creating a first female ice hockey league in Korea. That's Young Leaders Project.
Well done. Well done.
Yes.
Congrats. Yeah, so Kiki says that it's very nice to meet you virtually. She's a professor of sport management, teaching a class on management and functional areas of the Olympics. So this information is very useful, she says. Katrina Galas says, great conversation, very important in sport today. Always love listening to all the insights you have to share. And yeah, so people really enjoyed. Thank you so much for being part of it. I have maybe two questions to wrap up. One is, what's your favorite sporting moment?
My favorite.
Do you have one?
Yes, I have two actually, but it's the same athlete. It's Rio and London 2012. She won both golds. It's Sandra Perkovic from Croatia.
Sandra Perkovic,
Discus thrower.
Discus thrower.
Discus thrower. She won gold in London and Rio, and I was there for both.
You were there for both.
Yeah.
Great.
Cried a lot.
I can imagine.
And also all the rowing medals that we get as a Croatian team. This is also very emotional.
And to wrap up, because we already passed the hour, we're a few minutes over, but I hope it's okay. Do you have any book to recommend? That's a thing that I always ask my guests.
Okay,
Or if you also want to recommend a podcast.
So I'm a huge podcast consumer. That's
YouTube
very
channel.
true. Because I have a dog, so I have to walk the dog, and then
Luka Modric.
Luka Modric is his name as an athlete. He's a male.
Beautiful.
And I decided I need to do something also with this time. So podcast is really great way to get information, learn something. So I recommend, recently I'm into Adam Grant's Rethinking. And then I recently read a book that really touched me. It's a Greek writer. She was a volunteer in a refugee process in Greece, where to process the refugees that come through the sea. Survived the sea, and it's called Beekeeper of Aleppo. Really beautiful book.
How's it called?
Beekeeper of Aleppo.
Beekeeper of Aleppo.
Yeah, her name is Lefteri is the last name. Christy Lefteri.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Good one. Any podcast that you would like to recommend? Or?
Adam Grant.
Oh,
Rethinking. That's
right.
it.
I thought that was a book. Okay.
No.
All right. Listen, Anna, I think we can wrap up. I think people really enjoyed it. So did I.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We didn't mention caipirinha. I promise that.
We didn't mention caipirinha. Well, we will have one very soon. So you're invited.
Okay, good. I know your birthday was a few weeks ago, but
yeah, mine and Erica's, we have similar sort of birthday, just a few days apart. And yeah, but we will invite you for caipirinhas.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. It's always nice to speak about yourself, right?
It was fun. And it's always enjoyable to learn as well. Yeah. So
thank you, everybody.
Thanks. We'll be back next week. So if you didn't do so, if you enjoyed it, if you're still there, hit that like button. It helps us, subscribe, share with your friends. If you think that's, anyone that you would like to hear from Anna, share that link with her too. I'm sure that they will appreciate it. Okay, everyone. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Thank you.